Welcome back, everybody. Today we're prepping the Jeep and getting ready for 24 hours of Appalachia Miners and Loggers Rally. It's going to be a little over 500 miles across West Virginia. We're going to be coming out of Hinton, West Virginia. It's going to be a cloverleaf, so we're going to run a couple laps, and everything's going to be centralized around Hinton. So we'll run a lap, come back, checkpoint, lap, so on and so forth. So stay tuned. I'm going to give you guys all the information, everything I go through to get my Jeep ready and my rig, and a lot of the information you can use on any rig. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible and as universal as possible because everybody has different needs and different things they need to get prepped on their rig. So stay tuned and let's get her done. Yee! Alright guys, so, and ladies, gentlemen, everybody out there in the YouTube world, whenever I go on any kind of wheeling trip, expedition, rally, it's pretty much the same thing. Whatever you're going to do, it's a good idea to always go through your entire rig and check everything and get ready for whatever you're going to get into. For me, the way I like to do it is I have a book with a bunch of information in here on my rig, schematics, everything I need. But on here, I also have a list. And I like to put my list in these clear plastic folders because you can, as you're working, you can mark off what you did on here on the clear plastic, and when you're done and come back, you just wipe it back off with the rag and you start all over again. That keeps me in line. This is a good reminder wherever you're at, make a list so you don't forget anything. And as you progressively do this more and more, you're going to keep adding to the list, taking stuff off the list, etc., etc. The other thing you want to do is have a torque wrench. Borrow one, buy one, whatever you need to do. You want to make sure you torque everything that's important on the rig. Like I said, I have a list here, so I start in the front, work my way back. Major components: suspension, shocks. Don't forget to torque those wheel lugs and nuts. Just anything that, if there's a failure, can cause serious damage. I like to go through just about everything, including body mounts. People forget that. They can actually rattle loose or break one off. I've had a body mount break and I didn't realize it. It's just, it is what it is. The other thing I like to use is a paint marker. And this comes in handy because you can go in here, and once you've torqued everything, come back in here, and you can see here where this one's already been marked before previously. And it lets you know, and I do it on both sides, and I do it on everything. All the suspension, all the important stuff, I like to mark it. That way, if something does happen, you start hearing a rattling, something's going on, it's easy to wipe off the mud with the rag and check to see if something came loose or moved or is out of spec, especially if you know your rig well enough where, hey, that noise is coming from the passenger rear. You can take a look at stuff and be like, oh, that came loose, whatnot, lost a nut. So just basic stuff like that. You don't have to go out and buy one. Harbor Freight has them cheap. Amazon, borrow one from a friend. Go through, mark it. A lot of the times I can look at it and I'm like, okay, that's torque, that hasn't moved, we're good to go. Basic stuff. List, help you go through it. The other thing is every vehicle is different, so whether you have solid axle, leaf springs, coils, check it all. You'll make your own personal list, have your own stuff to take care of. All right, so now you've gone through your rig. You checked fluids, you've checked nut and bolt check on everything, got everything torqued to spec, everything ready to go. Prepping as far as tools. This is a big thing, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Number one, you want to make sure you're running a full-size spare and the proper jack to jack up your vehicle. And you have to think, if you fall in a ditch or something like that on the side of the road, you need a jack that's going to not just work on even ground. So make sure whatever you got, basic, you should have is a jack and a full-size spare. If you're running locking lug nuts, make sure you have the key, and if you can, run a spare. We ran into that issue with some other people and we made it work. Fortunately, somebody else had one that worked, but that should be at a minimum. Some of the stuff here is what you should have. You don't need a lot. You don't need to spend a fortune. When I first started wheeling, I would literally take my tools out of my toolbox that I had and put them in a bag or a box, throw them in the rig and go wheeling. Number two with this, if you do have a breakdown, if something happens, you get stuck, recovery points. You want to make sure you have a recovery point in the rear and in the front of your rig, whatever it is. That way you may not have a recovery rope, but somebody might. They might have a winch. Again, for like the rally, you don't really need a winch. It helps, but they have a recovery team that sweeps every single one of the sections after everybody's gone through. I have a recovery gear bag. It's what I have every time in my rig. It goes everywhere with me. It has everything you need in a recovery gear, so I won't get into it. I have two tool bags. I have a tool bag and a tool roll. I would say a basic set of sockets, wrenches, adjustable wrench, a couple of those thrown in there. You'd be surprised how far that will get you with just having a couple of adjustable wrenches thrown in somewhere. A hammer, and like I said, stuff to change your spare tire. Zip ties and duct tape makes the world of off-roading go round. So make sure you have some Gorilla Tape and plenty of zip ties. Harbor Freight puts sales on. I have zip ties all over my house and every single vehicle I own. The other thing that most people don't think about, and it's something basic and you should probably have on something like this, is an extra serpentine belt. Believe it or not, this right here can cause a world of damage and end you in the middle of nowhere and can't get out. Because without this, you can't run your fuel pump. In some cases like mine, my mechanical fan. This is something your rig should have, is an extra serpentine belt, in my opinion. Some people don't want to carry one or don't feel the need to. If you're going to do a rally like this, a serpentine belt doesn't take long to change and can actually get you out of a situation. If you're too far in there, your car is going to start overheating. Power steering, all that. So that helps. I have carried tools for a long time and I have a lot of things. I built this rig to do more than one thing. I have a welder, all that. You don't need none of that fancy stuff. Basic tools is all you need. Now, with that being said, every rig has specialty tools you need in order to do repairs. And depending on what you're doing, you want to carry vehicle specific tools for the job. I have certain torque bits and Allen keys on this rig. I carry those in my tool bag because I know I need them. If something happens, I gotta have that. The same thing for axle nuts, things like that. If you're doing that kind of repair or may have to do it, you don't have to have extras. I have axle sockets in my toolbox. I literally take out part of my checklist. Again, those packing checklists. I take those tools, put them in a bag, put them in the rig. When I'm done, come back, they go back in the toolbox. It's that simple. We all work, we all have bills to pay, and tools can get expensive. Trust me, I know. It's taking a long time, a lot of money in tools. But keep it basic. You don't need a lot. You just want something to get you off the trail, or at least back to civilization where you can get more help. So that takes care of that. The other thing is fluids. Obviously, top off your fluids before you go. I prefer to carry an entire crate with extra fluids, and I believe that even a gallon of antifreeze and some water at the minimum. A couple quarts of oil, something happens, you can dump oil in there, and again, limp it back to civilization where you can take care of what you need to. You don't have to carry a bunch of stuff. I have stuff here in the shop. Again, I just pick it up, put it in my box with the fluids, and go on. So there you go. And for those out there, a bottle of brake hand cleaner helps a lot when stuff is greasy and you need to clean up real quick. So it's one of those things that you learn over the years. Take a can of this and makes life a whole lot easier when you're in the middle of nowhere and trying to get mud and oil or whatever off of everything. So that's pretty much all I do. I take half a day or however long it takes, go from front to rear, get everything prepped, get all my tools prepped. Again, I have that list. I go through the list, check everything off, and then load it up and keep going. All right, guys, now that we got the basic stuff of prepping for rally or a wheeling trip, an adventure, whatever it is, I'm gonna talk about my personal rig and what we've done and learned from previous rally. Now, this again is extra. This is not something you have to do. I'm very competitive and I like to have fun and push myself and my rig to the limits. With that being said, this is extra stuff that I've done to do better, because again, the Marine in me can't help myself and I'm competitive. So this is not a race, this is a rally. We have to reiterate this all the time. With that being said, consistency. You keep that constant pace, you're gonna finish with plenty of time and not hurt yourself, anybody else. So please, please, please be mindful of your speed through some of these areas. Again, this is a rally, not a race. However, every little bit of time that you save somewhere makes up for time if you keep up consistency. Number one, you gotta be hydrated and you gotta eat. So make sure you got snacks that are appropriate to keep your energy up and you hydrate. Water, energy drinks, whatever, no drinking. That's for after the rally. Now, when you do that, you gotta relieve yourself. In my case, I'm getting older, it means I gotta go more often. I don't wanna stop. So, I've added a through haul fitting that's gonna go to my catheter, and my co-driver are both running catheters, so we don't have to stop to relieve ourselves. It's on the outside of the frame rails, because Lord knows I don't want the skid plate getting urine on it and smelling up the whole rig. The other thing that I'm adding for the rally, and again, this is rig specific, is I built some temporary fender flares. Believe it or not, mud can be an issue, especially when you have full width axles like I do and no fender flares, because rock crawling and all that. So I made some temporary fender flares that bolt on. I'm doing the same for the rear. I haven't done those yet, but they're on the list. It's not as big a deal as up front. You want to be able to see out of your windshield. I added a windshield washer fluid. That way I can use it, because last rally I used up most of my water cleaning the windshield off and lost a lot of time on the trail, especially at night, trying to get through everything. So that's one thing to think about. You can use pump sprayers. I saw them side by side, guys. You guys are awesome, by the way. Love what you guys come up with. But a pump sprayer and your co-driver just washing down all the mud and everything. Again, it's not pretty. It's just meant to be functional, and that's what these are for, and that's what I'm doing. This big boy loves to drink fuel. So I've added a new gas tank to the rig, and if you will follow my social media, you've seen it. I've got a 25-gallon fuel cell or fuel tank that are designed for this Jeep that goes where a spare tire goes. On top of that, I've added a 32-gallon fuel cell with the switch for the fuel pump that feeds straight into my stock tank. I'm not running two fuel pumps. We're not in Baja or something like that where I feel the need to run a separate pump tied into the system for that. Instead, I'm using this tank, pump straight into my stock fuel tank, and keep running. In total, we've got about 32 here, 31, 32, and about 24, 25 in there. Do the math, that's over 50 gallons of fuel. Look, if we have luck, we get 10 miles a gallon. Most of the time, it's about 9. So we'll see how it goes. But that saves a lot of time not having to stop for fuel. The other thing is auxiliary lighting. You don't need it, but it helps. I've been fortunate enough to partner with, and I've been working great with Tyree off-road lights. I do a lot of research on products I run on my rigs, and I definitely feel like Tyree, as far as lighting, has definitely stepped up their game. They've come from the mining and commercial side of things, so they've been doing this a long time for some heavy-duty equipment, and they're all made 100% in the US. I have their light bar across the top in amber, and then I have white spotlights on my A-pillars. I tend to run amber for my personal knowledge, and what I've learned and experience is amber on the trails. It helps define the terrain better than white, and it's easier on your eyes when you've been running all them bright lights all night. It's easier with the amber. When I run on the blacktop, I prefer to use spotlights and make sure I don't hit a deer or somebody coming. You know, always be mindful of that. Make sure you turn off your auxiliary lights. Again, you don't need it for the rally. This is one of those things that everybody has their own choice on what they want to do, and it helps when you can see a lot further up the trail, and you can get through everything a lot easier. I also have this thing built for everything, so I've got lights on the side of my rig, which in some of these tight turns help because you can see around tight corners when you're coming around the turn. So it's all up to you. All this stuff is extra stuff above and beyond because people have said I'm a little extra, and I guess if you know me, I tend to be a little extra, but I can't help myself. It's just who I am. I hope this information comes to you with you know, excitement, because I am super excited to be running this rally again. We didn't finish the last one. I did win the coolest rig award, but this time I plan on finishing and qualifying for the finals in Kentucky. And there's a lot that goes into that, and prep work. Just like welding, if you fabricate, the prep work is where it's at. If you paint, whatever you do, prep is more important than the actual thing. So make sure you prep everything. Get your rigs ready. I can't wait to see everybody out there, and let's get it. Yee!